Welcome to the Juniper Podcast, where we chat with the most fascinating people in the pet space and dive into ways to keep our pets happy, healthy, and enriched. If you're a little obsessed with your pets like we are, you're in the right place. Let's dive in.
Hello and welcome to the Juniper Podcast. I'm co-host Haley here once again with Ebony Richardson, who has become part of the Juniper team since we first recorded with her in season 1 of the podcast. And we are here to talk about enrichment days in the life. So, Ebony, when you have a ton of time and a ton of capacity to fulfill your dog, what kinds of enriching things will you do together in a day?
I know we talked about a realistic example, so I'll be completely honest and say not what I feel like is enough. I wish that I said when I have a ton of time, I do all these things, but I think some of that is social media pressure. I know she really, really likes to sniff. She's 8 years old, but if I had the time and dedication, she could still get into scent work. She's a nose girl for sure. All she wants to do is sniff everything. When I will come in from the backyard or from a walk, and I'll go upstairs and use the bathroom, and maybe I forgot the keys in the car, so I come back down. She's right there hey, are we going for another walk? We've been outside for an hour and she's just instantly ready. So I think when I have more time, I take her on much longer walks and let her lead the way, which it can be hard because in our neighborhood, everything she wants to sniff is someone else's property. So I kind of have to hey, this isn't public grass. This is my neighbor's grass but at the same time, if I do take her to the park for a walk, she'll sniff one spot. It'll be me walking in circles while she is still sniffing back. So I just really just let her do that. And I'll say what's really been fun is now that the weather's getting better, sometimes I work outside in the backyard and then we're just in the backyard and she sometimes wants to play with me, but sometimes it's so funny. I feel like she just sits in the backyard and just marvels at the world. She'll sit in the middle of the yard and just look. And I'm like, do you want to play? Do you want to ball? She's like, no, I'm just looking and listening. And I'm like, okay. So
I love that. I feel like Scout does that also, just the observing the world. That nuance of what can be fulfilling is also really important because so often when we talk about enrichment, it's a lot of activities, right? Active things that we are doing. And there's a ton of validity to that. That is important. Our dogs need to do things. We need to do things, right? But I think that sometimes a part of the conversation that gets missed is exactly what you're saying, just sitting and observing the world. That's one of the things on our 101 Enrichment Ideas guide. And I remember putting that together and feeling a little bit does this count? This is 101 Enrichment Ideas. And, I feel like when you download that guide, you're expecting ways to stuff your Kong and how to do the DIY puzzle toys. And I had to really talk myself into it where I was like, no, that totally counts because that's a huge part of a canine's natural life. And if you think about us as people, observing the world is also something that we do. You'll hear people talk about people watching all the time. I have some friends who love airports just because they can sit and watch the commotion. That brings them a measure of fulfillment.
No, that makes a lot of sense too, because I was going to say before we were all on our phones, we did used to go people watch, and just observe. And we were watching Severance like everyone should be. And I never knew that my dog never heard a goat bleat before. She can stand up on her hind legs and open a door. So, of course, we have a deadbolt lock on our bedroom door because sometimes when we have the plumber come over and we really can't have her opening the door to let herself out, we'll have to lock her in. And so, and then we also just do it at night. All the pets sleep in our room and then we lock the door just for safety. We're watching Severance, a goat bleak, and she's trying to tear the door down. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I guess she's never heard that before. And I think she's just like, what the hell is it?
You've never heard a goat? Oh, that's so funny. I feel like I might have to do this as a future poll in a newsletter now because my dog pays no attention to any recorded sound at all. And I know other dogs, and what you're just describing, where they'll hear something and react to it in the real world. If I'm out of town and Sean is with Scout and I'm FaceTiming or calling him, I can talk with my own voice and she just acts like nothing is happening. Or there's like dog sounds on the TV and she completely ignores them, but she's a fearful, sometimes still reactive dog. Like she does not ignore dog barking sounds in the real world, even if they're like across the street. She'll kind of perk up. You can tell that she hears. But yeah, it's almost like she doesn't register sounds coming off of a computer or a TV. So I find that fascinating.
You know what? That's a good point. And while we're talking about engagement, I'll be curious. If you're listening and you watch dog TV or if you put dog TV on, it's like some dogs, the screen makes them not notice it at all. And then some dogs are like chasing the squirrels on the TV. And I don't know what that's about, but I'd be curious. I would think dog TV, if your dog likes it, that could be a cool form of engagement if it registers with them.
I think so. My friend Taylor, who I got to interview for this second season of the Juniper podcast, she's the author of The Happiest Dog on the Block. She has a dog who loves to watch TV, and it was really cute actually. Like her dog watching TV made it onto the news. So then like she has this great sort of inception video where like her dog is watching herself watch the news. Like which is so funny. I think that is a form of enrichment. Like it's still sort of stimulation and really just kind of draws it back to like some of these fundamental questions that we need to be asking when thinking about how to fulfill our dogs, and every individual dog being different. And like, I think that the idea of dog TV is cute. It's just that Scout tells me she doesn't register it. And so that's not an option for us personally, but that doesn't mean it isn't great for some other people. And then there's like this in between. I will put music on for her and I still can't figure out if she really notices or not, because she doesn't seem to acknowledge music in the background much. But like that is a form of sensory stimulation. And so, as you know, we live in a van. And so sometimes we're parked somewhere. Like we spent a week on the side of the street in Manhattan, New York. That's loud, right? It's great for her to like observe her surroundings, like we talked about at the very start of this conversation. But there's a level where it becomes too much, right? And like the stimulation is too much. Now we're getting overstimulated. It's maladaptive. And so I'll put on like cozy jazz or like classical piano. My Spotify Wrapped is such a mess since we moved into the van just because of this. It's like sort of a form of enrichment and a form of management, like trying to manage her environment so that she can feel fulfilled and then also be able to relax. Because I guess I think about enrichment a lot as like fundamentally, what are the activities that then set our dogs up to be able to relax? What makes them feel fulfilled so that they can, go roll over on the floor and take a satisfied nap and feel like, okay, I'm calm. Yeah, it's so interesting. Okay, that's definitely a poll. That's going to be a poll in one of the upcoming newsletters, if everyone's dogs pay attention to the television or like the radio or not.
If you watch dog TV and if your dog has a genre preference, because I've heard that dogs like reggae.
Really?
I guess like binaural beats or like the pacing of a lot of reggae music has some kind of tempo that like stimulates calmness or something. I read it a long time ago. I'm curious if anyone's dog has a genre preference.
That's so fascinating. I mean, I could see it. It's also hilarious at a personal level because one of our old foster dogs was a 7-month-old with a broken leg. And so that was such a hard situation because we had to try to keep her still. And obviously she had all of this energy and she was also in pain. It was just like so emotionally difficult. But I have this really funny video where Sean was playing the guitar for her as she was in her crate. And he was singing No Woman, No Cry by Bob Marley, except he was changing the words to be No Doggo, No Whine, as like we're trying to get her calm in her crate.
Did it work?
She just liked feeling like we were there with her, like everyone was having a calm vibe. But now I'm hearing from my friend Ebony that without realizing it, we were using science-backed methodology to play the right kind of music.
I got to figure it out now. Now I want to do an A/B test.
That's a fun idea.
A good one that I thought of, that this is actually good for like when you don't have time, but I've been doing it just because the weather's nice. I've just been pouring my dog's food all throughout our backyard.
Nature's snuffle mat.
Yes, exactly. Because I was gonna say she loves her stuff on mat, and I'm like, well, outside smells different every day. Like every time it rains, it'll be brand new. Every time a raccoon runs in our backyard, so I'm like, I could just do this. You don't need 10 snuffle mats. Yeah, you just need grass.
I love that so much. Scout enjoys that too. Like, I know one of the concerns sometimes when I tell people about nature's snuffle mat, which is what I will forever call it, by the way. I see it as a proper noun in my mind with like the little trademark symbol, like nature's snuffle mat, fancy grass. Scout never struggled when we did that with knowing not to eat other things off of the ground because we worked a lot on her leave it, and that was sort of just a context thing that she understood. Have you ever experienced that with your dog, or like any ideas on the training end if someone wants to let their dog forage out of the grass, but maybe they're afraid that that means on a walk they're going to like go for the chicken bones that are always on the sidewalk?
I thought about that, and I think my dog just has discernment, but my mom's dog will eat rocks on the ground. You have to know your dog's personality. And it's funny when you were talking about leave it because there's someone that I follow on social media. Her handle name is Dog at Heart. I was taught how to teach leave it a certain way, and she had a really good post about how it can be like unnecessarily causing stress and confusion for our dogs to train them leave it. I remember watching her video, and she had other videos about it, and I didn't quite fully grasp what she was saying, but it really made me rethink telling dogs, like, well, sometimes if I hand you something, take it, but sometimes don't. Or even when you're playing tug, even though, like I said, it's not an issue for my dog, but I notice sometimes, like, she's so gentle. If she has anything in her mouth at all and I reach for it, she's just going to drop it. I'm like, "Oh, no, we're playing. Like, now we can play. Now you can take it." But usually sometimes she's like, "Oh, you want it? You can just have it." So that's an interesting thing to just think about overall, leave it and how we teach leave it, and when do we encourage them to sniff things on the ground and when do we discourage it. It's really interesting.
It really is. I love getting nerdy about this. And it comes back to my forever favorite topics, which are like that every dog is different as an individual and that there's all of this nuance in how we live with them and how we want to live with them. And I think like so many dogs are really naturally good at context cues to the degree that when they aren't getting the context cues, it's really common for pet parents to like feel confused. Like, I think it's easy. We've lived with domestic dogs for so long to just take it for granted that they should like understand yes in this context, no in this context. There's kind of like this spectrum. Like, there are the dogs who often can do really, really well with that. Like, my mom's therapy dog is one of them. She just like reads the room. She is the most people social dog I've ever met. She will read someone's cues, discern what kind of social interaction they want, and respond accordingly. It's really remarkable to watch. Scout is more on the other end, where it's taken her a long time to build up her confidence with people and like figure out contexts. And so I structured things really specifically, especially early in our life together, to help give her as much clarity as possible. We have signals, for lack of a better word, for basically everything. And there was a time where that felt really necessary to help alleviate confusion on her end. Like you mentioned, the plaything. Scout's also very soft dog, but she also loves to tug. And one of the reasons that we were able to successfully help her learn how to tug is that we created really clear signals. Like when offering play, we say ready in this like distinctive voice. And then when we're done, we say enough. And that took a while to build. Like, this was not some seamless overnight thing. That was really important for her because she's a dog who, if she doesn't have that clarity of like, when can I go hard and like fight you for the toy? And like, when do I need to release the thing I picked up off the sidewalk that you don't want me to have? She would shut down and get really confused. We have this for when she can chase squirrels. We have this for like when she can eat something off of the ground. Like, we have all of these verbal signals. Some of them are hand cues also associated with it.
Did you know that Juniper creates content for pet brands? From SEO-rich articles to videos that stop the scroll, we know how to tell stories that pet parents love. Ready to grow your brand? Visit us at juniperpet.co.
It properly can be confusing when in context A, we're encouraging our dog to do something, and in context B, we're saying, hey, don't do that thing. And this is so relevant to the larger enrichment conversation because there's a bit of trial and error involved. And like, you don't want to micromanage your dog, right? Like Scout's also allowed to initiate play with us. It's not like she has to wait to hear the ready before any fun can happen. But we sort of used that as a bridge to help her understand contexts. And we've done that with enrichment in the past too, to help make it really clear, like, here is the box of recycling on the ground. There are treats in it. And this is your enrichment activity to snuffle out these treats. Versus like, here's the pile of recycling that we're waiting to take outside. And we have not given you this signal. And so you know not to go after it. And yeah, a dog like my mom's therapy dog just like truly doesn't need that.
I didn't even realize, but obviously this is enrichment too. But I've been training my dog to wear her muzzle. I've always felt like, because she is a German Shepherd, and like muzzle training is great for obviously the veterinary visits and everything. I've been cautious about it outside because we have a lot of like loose dogs in our neighborhood. And I've always felt like if a dog were to approach us, like we walk with a big stick too to protect us, but I thought, how could she protect herself with a muzzle on? So that had me a little weary. But then recently I'm just like, no, we're going to muzzle train her outside of the vet so she can go on hikes and stuff like that. It's been really fun. Of course, I am a clicker girl, so I feel like the clickers helped her really pick up on it so quick. I have 3 bags of dog treats on my nightstand because if I don't see it, I'll forget to do it. So put the treats in the clicker like right there. So it's like I wake up, I may make my matcha, we go outside, we go upstairs, and I'm like, all right, clicker training. It's been fun for her. Like she really does enjoy it. Training sessions can be under 5 minutes. 3 to 5 minutes, I think, is even what's recommended, just really quick.
Yeah, that's so important. That idea that you can just like quick fit things in. And especially the conditioning to new tools, clothing, all of that. I am of the personal belief that basically every dog should be comfortable wearing a muzzle, like just in case. You never know what's going to happen. And I also feel like part of helping with the stigma that sometimes still surrounds muzzles is like just normalizing them. Like this is a really helpful tool when we live with dogs who have teeth and might get hurt sometimes, right? Like, you know, you have a dog who tears something terribly or dislocates a joint, and like that is a really painful thing. I don't react well when I'm in pain, right? Like Sean is my favorite person in the world, and I will metaphorically bite his head off if I'm hurt. And like that's not because I'm a mean person, and like muzzles help dogs who might scrounge things off the ground. Like there's so many rules. I could go on forever about muzzles. But I love what you hit on there with like conditioning your dog, introducing them to a new object is a form of enrichment because it's broadening their horizons and it's also building that relationship with you. Like the more things that Scout gets comfortable with, the more confident she feels overall, the more we build our own trust because she learns that when I introduce things to her, I make it fun. Like she's a dog who hated her harness in the beginning. Like I literally had to condition her harness very similarly to how you would condition a muzzle. And yeah, it would be like just super short sessions. And it was so helpful. And like it got her brain going a little. And it was just like a feel good thing. Like, here's this new object. Tons of good stuff is happening. We're having fun. You're using your brain, but you're not like exhausting your brain. That's a nice option. Just like have things around your house. We did this with cereal boxes with one of our foster puppies. He was terrified of cardboard boxes. And so we ended up doing that. Like I would just have boxes on the floor then. And periodically I would just be like, eat some treats off this box. Watch me play with the box. That was an enrichment activity. Enrichment activities don't always have to be like big formal. I spent 4 hours putting together frozen Kongs and topples, which if you want to do that, more power to you. That's excellent. But like, I love what you're hitting on here with they can just be these simple, quick, around the house, fitting into daily life things as well.
Yeah. If anyone walks away from anything from this podcast, I would hope that it's, if you think you don't have time for enrichment, you're probably overthinking the enrichment. And even coming from me as someone who said, like, when I have time, it's like, it's not as complicated as you think, or it doesn't have to be as complicated as you think, but it can be world changing for them.
Absolutely. I think a lot about priorities. This is again me being nerdy. We all know that I am like super nerd. So don't feel like you have to do this if you're listening. But if you think it might be helpful, one thing that was really transformative for me is I sat down and I made a list of things that fulfill Scout. It's not comprehensive. It'll never be comprehensive. But I just like made this list. And then on the next page, I tried to roughly order the list based on what she loves best, like what makes her feel most satisfied. And there was some trial and error, some experimentation there, like how easy is it for you to rest after you do X activity versus Y activity. But over the years, I've ended up with this pretty robust list where I know, like, if I'm really crunched, or like right now we're visiting my in-laws, and so Scout spends most of the time in the van, and everyone is like doing the chaos family activities inside the house. And so we have to be really strategic about how we're fulfilling her because we're just spending fewer hours with her, but she still deserves to feel satisfied. And so I kind of like look to my list. And so for her, one of the most fulfilling things in the whole world is tug. So like if I only have time for one activity in a day, like it's going to be play. I will play tug with her. And I know that, like maybe that isn't her dream day. Like maybe she'd like more, but it's like I'm hitting that top priority at least. And that gives me more wiggle room versus like I used to try to take her on a neighborhood walk every day. And she was just not a dog who got a lot out of that. She found neighborhood walks stressful. Other dogs would bark at her. Sometimes there would be like loose cats running around. Like she's a sensitive dog where that drained her more than it fulfilled her. And so if we're looking at this all else equal, if there's a day where I only have like 20 minutes of really engaged, dedicated time I can give her, the day where we spend those 20 minutes playing tug, she's way happier than the day we spend those 20 minutes on a neighborhood walk. And that just took like experimentation and me sort of trying to think it through. But now I feel so equipped. I feel like I know how to maximize the time that we do have.
Yeah. What do you look for? I know you said like how well she's able to sleep after an activity. What lets you know that she is thoroughly satisfied from this enrichment?
Such a good question. For her, it's definitely like how well can she relax? She's a herding dog. She's a pretty anxious, neurotic herding dog. And so, especially in our early days, the litmus test was like, how much is she struggling with her reactivity? That is the feedback that I used for everything because she was explosively fear reactive to other dogs. And if she was really satisfied and like had her other needs met, her capacity to handle those stressors would be higher. And we had to find this sweet spot where if I asked too much of her and she was overtired, she'd be way more reactive. But if I didn't do enough with her, she'd also be way more reactive. So I had to like find this middle ground. Nowadays, her reactivity is a really little part of our lives. I'm really happy that she's come as far as she has with it. So I can still look at that a little, but like the signs will be more subtle. It used to be that she would just completely lose her mind at another dog on the street, like a full city block away. She would just be inconsolable. And now the signs are subtler, but they're still there. I can tell she's not getting enough from us if she hears a dog barking and really stresses and her ear, like she gets all tense and her ears are standing upright and forward. And then how deeply she sleeps. She's really easy to startle. Like she's just this sensitive, startly dog. And so when she's really feeling fulfilled, she'll sleep through things that she otherwise wouldn't. So lots of the like individual body language there and kind of the trial and error. I think particularly with her being like that working breed, that herding dog, the ability to relax is not something that necessarily like comes naturally to her out of the box. So that's what makes it a particularly powerful piece of feedback to take in our life.
That's so cool. It's tailored to your dog. And it's not like if her tail is wagging. I mean, even, tail wags can mean different things, but it really boils down to like your dog will let you know what they love and what they don't love. We just know what to look for.
Yeah, I really love the like relaxation as a metric for enrichment because I also think that sometimes frustration or just like overall arousal can kind of look a little bit like excitement in the middle of an activity, right? And so there have been tons of times in our life where I've given Scout what I thought was like a fun puzzle. And she hasn't been having fun, actually. She's been very frustrated, but like her tail is going and she's all like intense with it. And I thought that was a really fulfilling thing for her. And then I would notice that after that activity, she was still super amped up. So it like didn't have the intended goal. So much trial and error. Do you have any last takeaways to add before we close it out?
Everyone out there like me, if you're thinking, I don't have time, the time that you spend thinking that you don't have time, you could have did something. Like, it's not as hard as you think.
Oh, that's so good. I love that. Perfect. Well, thank you all for listening, and we'll be back again with more mini episodes soon.
Thanks for listening to the Juniper Podcast. Don't forget to sign up at juniperpet.co for guides, articles, and newsletters that make pet parenting easier. And if you're a pet brand looking for creative content that connects, drop us a line at juniperpet.co. We'll see you next time.